If a single text message can ruin your morning, or a stranger's rude comment can hijack your thoughts for the rest of the day, you are not in control of your own life. You are simply reacting to the noise. We often mistake our anxiety and quick temper for our personality, but they are just deeply ingrained habits. And the beautiful thing about a conditioned habit is that it can be aggressively rewritten. You do not need a stress-free life, you need a stronger mind. Today, we are going to explore how to train your brain to master the art of emotional detachment and radical calm. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to stand steady no matter what storm hits. To begin this transformation, you have to accept an uncomfortable truth about yourself. Right now, your mind is not naturally obeying you. For the vast majority of us, we are moving through our days entirely on autopilot. Every single time you instantly shouted back during an argument, you trained your brain to react with anger. Every time you spent 3 hours tossing and turning in bed worrying about the future, you trained your brain to master anxiety. Every time you felt a slight hint of boredom or discomfort and immediately pulled out your phone to scroll through social media, you trained your brain to escape. We often look at our hot tempers, our crippling anxiety, or our tendency to panic, and we say, well, that's just my personality. That's just the way I am. But it is not your personality. It is conditioning. It is a neurological habit built through years of repetition. And the beautiful thing about human psychology and neuroplasticity is this: whatever has been conditioned can be unconditioned. Whatever has been learned can be aggressively unlearned. The very first step to taking back control of your mind is to understand the concept of the sacred gap. Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. When someone cuts you off on the freeway, that is the stimulus. When you slam your hand on the horn and scream out the window, that is the response. For most people, there is zero space between those two events. Trigger equals reaction. The external world pushes a button, and you dispense an emotion like a vending machine. To become a truly calm person, you must deliberately wedge a block of wood between the trigger and the reaction. You must create distance, because distance creates choice, and choice gives you absolute freedom. How do we build this distance? We use what I call the 3-second anchor. It sounds incredibly simple, but do not mistake simple for weak. The breath is the strongest rope you can throw into the violent storm of a panicked mind. It literally pulls your wandering, anxious consciousness back into your physical body. Before you fire off that angry email reply, breathe for 3 seconds. Before you say the unforgivable word to your partner during a fight, breathe for 3 seconds. Before you make a massive financial decision from a place of scarcity and fear, breathe for 3 seconds. In those 3 slow, deliberate seconds, your parasympathetic nervous system engages. Your heart rate physically lowers. The logical part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, comes back online, wresting control away from the emotional, reactive amygdala. One slow breath can stop one foolish word. And one foolish word can destroy years of trust, a thriving career, or a beautiful marriage. A highly trained person does not walk around without emotions. A trained person simply refuses to be a slave to them. You can feel the intense heat of anger rising in your chest, observe it, take your 3 seconds, and still choose to communicate with unwavering respect. That is the ultimate flex of human power. The first battle of your day is not against your commute, your difficult boss, or your financial stress. The very first battle is against the impulse to abandon yourself before the day has even begun. Look honestly at how you start your mornings. The moment your eyes open, what is the very first action you take? Most people immediately reach for the glowing rectangle on their nightstand. Within seconds of waking up, they are force-feeding their fresh, vulnerable mind a chaotic diet of other people's lives, society's outrage, and endless demands. Think about the immense psychological impact of this daily habit. By opening your inbox or scrolling a news feed in bed, you are quite literally renting out your peace of mind before you have even taken a single conscious breath. When you check your email, you are instantly adopting other people's emergencies as your own. When you scroll through social media, you are downloading someone else's fabricated highlight reel and subconsciously comparing it to your raw, unfiltered reality. If you give the most crucial hour of your day to distraction and digital chaos, you should never be surprised when your entire day feels scattered, reactive, and overwhelmingly anxious. To build an unshakable mind, you must become a fierce gatekeeper of your attention, especially in the morning. Calmness requires strict boundaries. And I do not just mean boundaries with toxic people or demanding coworkers, I mean rigid, unbreakable boundaries with your own destructive habits. You have to learn to say no to the impulses that keep you weak. We need to establish a sacred, low-dopamine morning routine. This is not just a productivity hack, it is a profound declaration of self-respect. It is a physical way of telling your brain that you are the master of this house, and no external noise is allowed inside until you officially grant it permission. Do not touch your phone before you touch your own breath. Do not enter the virtual world before you have firmly rooted yourself in the physical reality of the present moment. Tomorrow morning, try something radically different. Wake up, sit upright on the edge of your bed, and let the first few minutes of the day belong entirely to you. Feel the physical sensation of your feet resting on the floor. Drink a large glass of water. Look out a window and observe the quiet world outside. Allow your nervous system to wake up naturally without the violent, artificial stimulation of a bright screen and a dozen notifications. When you fiercely guard your morning, you build an unshakable foundation of stillness. You are essentially putting on psychological armor before you step out onto the battlefield of modern life. A mind that begins in chaos will remain in chaos, forever reacting to whatever is thrown at it. But a mind that is intentionally anchored in silence first thing in the morning becomes an absolute fortress, incredibly difficult to disturb for the rest of the day. There is a dangerous and widespread misconception that a calm person is an emotionless robot. People often confuse true inner peace with total apathy or emotional numbness. They believe that to be a truly grounded individual, they must completely eradicate feelings of anger, fear, disappointment, or profound sadness. But trying to destroy your human emotions is a brutal battle you will never win, and honestly, it is a battle you should not want to win. Attempting to suppress your dark or heavy emotions is like trying to hold a massive beach ball underwater. It requires an exhausting amount of constant, vibrating energy. You might be able to hold it down for a while, presenting a fake smile to the world. But eventually, Your arms will get tired, your grip will slip, and that ball will explode violently to the surface, usually causing collateral damage to the people you love the most. False calm is simply a delayed explosion. A highly trained mind does not seek to remove emotion. A highly trained mind seeks to remove slavery to emotion. You are not trying to stop the ocean's waves, you are learning how to become the masterful surfer who rides the massive swell instead of drowning underneath it. This is the profound art of emotional alchemy. It is the ability to take the raw, chaotic energy of a feeling and transmute it into focused action. When a negative emotion rises, your default human instinct is to completely fuse with it. You say to yourself, "I am angry," or "I am terrified." By using the words, "I am," you are attaching your core, eternal identity to a temporary, passing feeling. To remain calm, you must create cognitive distance. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you must train yourself to observe the feeling and say, "I am currently experiencing anger." Instead of, "I am sad," say, "Sadness has arrived as a temporary visitor in my mind." These subtle shifts in your internal language are not just clever wordplay. They are powerful psychological tools that immediately strip the emotion of its absolute power over you. Anger is a visitor. Fear is a visitor. You are the vast sky, and these intense emotions are simply dark storm clouds passing through. The sky is vast enough to hold the storm, but the sky itself is never permanently damaged by the clouds. Once you create this crucial separation, you can begin to use the raw energy of these emotions for productive, intentional action. Anger, when mastered and channeled, is not a destructive wildfire that burns down your relationships. It is a controlled fire in a furnace that provides intense heat for discipline, boundary setting, and driving necessary change. You can feel the intense heat of anger and still choose to communicate with absolute respect. You can feel the icy grip of fear in your stomach and still step forward to do the difficult, necessary thing. To prevent your turbulent emotions from spilling out as toxic, regrettable reactions, you must install a verbal filter. In ancient philosophy, this concept is often referred to as the three gates of speech. Before you let your frustration dictate your words, force those words to pass through three strict checkpoints. Ask yourself, is it true? Is it genuinely useful? Is it the right time? If the words you are about to speak in the heat of the moment do not clearly pass all three of these gates, your best and most powerful weapon is silence. Silence is rarely a sign of weakness. In the face of provocation, silence can be a razor-sharp blade that immediately cuts the chain between a trigger and a foolish reaction. It protects your dignity, preserves your energy, and exposes the foolishness of the chaos around you without ever forcing you to step into the mud. You make your life infinitely heavier by turning every neutral moment into a tragic story about yourself. As human beings, we are natural meaning-making machines. We do not just experience events, we immediately narrate them. And unfortunately, when our minds are untrained, that internal narrator tends to be extremely harsh, dramatic, and deeply pessimistic. Imagine this scenario: you send a text message to a good friend asking for their help with a project, and hours go by with no response. The objective reality is simply this: a message was sent, and a reply has not yet been received. That is a neutral fact. It has no emotional weight. But your untrained mind refuses to leave it at that. The internal narrator instantly takes the microphone and begins to spin a story. The mind says, "They are ignoring me. They don't respect my time. I am always the one putting effort into this relationship, and nobody ever values me. I am fundamentally unappreciated." In a matter of seconds, you have taken a completely neutral event, a delayed text message, and weaponized it against your own self-worth. You have shrunk reality to fit perfectly into your oldest psychological wounds. This happens constantly. A boss gives you constructive criticism on a presentation, and your mind instantly writes a script that says, "I am a complete failure, and I am going to lose my job." A flight gets cancelled, changing your weekend plans, and the mind screams, "Nothing ever works out for me, the universe is against me." If you want to cultivate unshakable calmness, you must realize that your suffering is rarely caused by the actual event. Your suffering is caused by the brutal, unfair stories you tell yourself about the event. The external world can cause pain, but only your mind can manufacture prolonged suffering. To stop this cycle, you must become deeply skeptical of your own automatic thoughts. A thought is not a fact. A thought is not a prophecy. Just because a thought is loud and urgent in your head does not mean it is objectively true. When you feel a sudden rush of anxiety, sadness, or anger, you must hit the pause button and step into the role of the outside observer. Look at the situation as if you were a scientist examining data, or a lawyer examining a case. Cross-examine your own internal narrative. Ask yourself rigorous questions. Is this story 100% true? Do I have all the facts, or am I just assuming the worst? What else could this mean? Maybe your friend didn't reply because their phone died, or because they are dealing with a personal crisis you know nothing about. Maybe your boss criticized your work because they actually believe in your potential and want you to grow, not because they want to fire you. When you learn to separate the objective facts from your subjective stories, you strip the situation of its emotional drama. You stop fighting imaginary ghosts in your head. A calm mind does not rush to the darkest possible interpretation. A calm mind waits for the evidence, stays grounded in reality, and refuses to let old insecurities dictate today's reactions. If there is one profound secret to maintaining your peace in a chaotic world, it lies in mastering the art of detachment. Now, the word detachment is heavily misunderstood in modern society. People often assume that detachment means apathy. They think it means becoming cold, distant, and refusing to care about your work, your goals, or the people you love. But true detachment is the exact opposite of apathy. Apathy is a defense mechanism. It is the act of not caring because you are too afraid to get hurt. Detachment, on the other hand, is the ultimate form of strength. It means you care deeply, you love fiercely, and you give 100% of your effort to your goals, but you completely refuse to chain your inner peace to the outcome. The mind becomes utterly chaotic when it demands permanence from a fundamentally impermanent universe. Look around you. Everything in this world is in a constant state of motion. Seasons change. Economies rise and fall. People's opinions shift. Plans fail. Relationships evolve, and bodies age. This is the undeniable law of nature. Yet, we constantly fight against it. We grip onto our specific expectations with a white-knuckled intensity. We say, this relationship must never change. My career trajectory must follow this exact path. People must always treat me with the exact level of respect I demand. We try to force the fluid, unpredictable river of life to freeze solid. And when the ice inevitably breaks, we shatter along with it. When you are deeply attached to a specific outcome, whatever you cannot risk losing suddenly has absolute power over you. If you are entirely attached to the praise of your peers, then a single criticism has the power to destroy you. If your entire identity is wrapped up in your financial status, then an unexpected market downturn will completely break your spirit. Whatever controls your breathing controls your choices. To be calm in every situation, you must practice radical acceptance. You must learn to hold your life, your relationships, and your ambitions with an open hand, rather than a clenched fist. Imagine holding a handful of dry sand. If you hold it with an open, relaxed palm, the sand rests there peacefully. But the moment you panic, the moment you become possessive and squeeze your hand into a tight, clenched fist, the sand instantly slips through your fingers and falls to the ground. A closed fist gets tired quickly. It is exhausting to live your life constantly gripping, controlling, and defending your territory. Love deeply, but do not make another person the sole owner of your happiness. Build your future with relentless ambition, but do not let the uncertainty of tomorrow steal the joy of your present moment. Work passionately on your projects, but realize that the results are largely out of your control. You control the effort, the universe controls the outcome. When you finally understand and accept that everything is moving, you stop clinging so violently. You learn to appreciate things without gripping them. You act without panic. You release without collapsing. And in that space of profound letting go, you will discover a level of mental calmness that absolutely nothing in this world can take away from you. There is a profound trap that many people fall into when they start working on their mindset. They believe that mental training only happens when they are sitting cross-legged on a comfortable meditation cushion, listening to frequency music in a perfectly quiet, incense-filled room. But let me tell you a secret: meditating in a perfectly quiet room is easy. Anyone can be calm when absolutely nothing is demanding their attention. The real test, the actual battlefield where your training is forged and proven, is the messy, loud, unpredictable, and highly irritating modern world. Think about how you build physical muscle. You do not build a strong physical body by reading books about lifting weights. You do not get stronger by sitting on the couch and wishing your muscles were bigger. You build physical strength by walking into a gym, walking up to a heavy piece of iron, and willingly subjecting your muscles to intense friction, resistance, and microscopic tearing. The resistance is what creates the growth. Your mind works in the same way. You cannot purchase a calm mind. You cannot borrow it from a motivational speaker, and you cannot download it from a podcast. You have to earn it through repetition. Therefore, you must completely and radically reframe how you view the daily frustrations of your life. Stop looking at inconveniences as interruptions to your peace, and start looking at them as free, personalized training sessions sent by the universe to help you level up. The world is your dojo, and every difficult person is your sparring partner. When you are stuck in a bumper-to-bumper traffic jam and you are running late, your default setting is to grip the steering wheel, curse, and let your blood pressure skyrocket. But what does that actually accomplish? Does it make the cars move faster? No. It only destroys your internal state. Instead, when you hit that traffic jam, take a deep breath and tell yourself, training has arrived. When you are waiting in a painfully slow line at the grocery store, do not pull out your phone to escape the boredom. Stand there. Feel your feet on the floor. Observe your impatience rising, and practice letting it go. Training has arrived. When a coworker sends you a passive-aggressive email that makes your blood boil, do not instantly aggressively type back. Take your hands off the keyboard. Step back. Recognize that this person is handing you a golden opportunity to practice emotional restraint. Training has arrived. By simply shifting your internal language from, "Why is this happening to me?" to "Training has arrived," you completely change the chemical reaction in your brain. You move your nervous system out of a state of threat and into a state of challenge. You stop being a helpless victim of your circumstances, and you become an active, empowered participant in your own growth. Do not wait for a massive, life-altering crisis to discover whether or not you are a calm person. A crisis does not magically create calmness. A crisis only reveals the habits you have been practicing in private. If you constantly practice impatience when a website takes 3 extra seconds to load, you will not suddenly become a pillar of strength when your business goes bankrupt. If you practice vicious resentment during minor disagreements with your spouse, you will not suddenly become a master of compassion during a divorce. The repetitions you do in the small, ordinary, seemingly meaningless moments are what dictate your visible strength in the darkest hours of your life. Every single irritation is a bell calling you back to the present moment. Do not waste them by reacting automatically. Use them. As we reach the end of this blueprint, there is one final, critical illusion we need to shatter, the illusion of perfection. If you think that applying these principles means you will eventually reach a magical state of enlightenment where you never get angry, never feel anxious, and never make a mistake again, you are setting yourself up for miserable failure. You are a human being. You are going to fail. There will be days when the pressure is too heavy. There will be days when you are exhausted, hungry, and emotionally depleted, and you will snap at someone you love. You will speak too fast. You will scroll mindlessly for an hour when you promised yourself you wouldn't. You will let an old insecurity write your behavior for the afternoon. You will momentarily forget every single piece of advice in this video and revert to your old, chaotic autopilot. When that happens, the most important moment of your training arrives. How do you respond to your own failure? Most people respond with brutal self-hatred. They beat themselves up. They say, "I am so weak. I can't even control my own temper. This mindfulness stuff is useless, I give up." But listen to me carefully. Self-hatred is just another form of internal violence. It is just more noise. You cannot hate yourself into a state of peace. True calmness is not a final destination where you never struggle again, it is the lifelong, continuous practice of returning. When you notice that your mind has wandered into the dark alleys of anxiety, you do not punish yourself. You gently, but firmly, take your mind by the hand and return it to the breath. When you realize you have just spoken out of anger, you do not let pride keep you in the wrong. You swallow your ego, you apologize, and you return to your center. When you fall off your discipline for a week, you do not declare the whole year a failure. You wake up the next morning, you drink your water, and you return to the practice. The path to a masterfully calm mind is not a perfectly straight line of unbroken success. It is a messy, repetitive process of falling, catching yourself, and returning. You return when you forget. You return when you are tired. You return when you are severely tempted to engage in chaos. You keep returning until the act of returning becomes your new automatic nature. Beneath all the noise, the trauma, the fast-paced stress of modern society, and the constant digital distractions, there is a version of you that is utterly unshakable. There is a version of you that does not need to beg the world for peace, because it generates its own peace from within. It stands tall, it breathes deeply, it sees clearly. It is firm without being cruel, it is soft without being weak, and it is laser-focused without being tense. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is waiting for you. But it is not reached through wishing, hoping, or complaining. It is reached through rigorous, daily, uncompromising training. So, begin today. Do not wait for the perfect Monday. Do not wait for your circumstances to become fair. Stand in the center of yourself, guard the gates of your mind, and take your first conscious breath. If this video brought you value, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our future content. And I want you to commit right now. Go down into the comments and write down the one small thing you are going to practice today to take back control of your mind. Thank you for watching, and remember, the storm may be raging outside, but you are the master of the house. Train your mind, and nothing will ever break you.